Hello, first grade. Mr. Hunter here. I am here with you for your reading for the week. We have our Frederick Douglass that we've read and we're reading currently, but this is for your worksheet that you should have. It should say compare and contrast week 10, day number 1. So I want you to pull that out. I want you to take your pencil, write your name at the top. You don't have to write the date on there, but you just write your name. Always write your name first. And then we're gonna go a few we're gonna go into the story a little bit, but I don't want you to read the story first. I want you to listen here. Compare and contrast. Can anybody tell me what compare and contrast means? Or do you have an idea what that means? We've talked about fantasy. We've talked about reality. We've talked about different aspects of what it is when we're reading a story, what to look for the subject. But in compare and contrast, and I'm going to read it, the definition. I don't want to make up my own definition. I'm going to read the definition that it has for the book. It says that we are going to be looking at the similarities and the differences between two people or things. So the stories that we're reading this week, we're doing the same thing. We're going to compare and contrast. We're going to see what they have in common. We're going to see what's different about them. When we look at each other in class, when we have Sam, we have Eliana, we have Dylan, we have Jeremiah, you can all look at each other, and there's 4 of you in first grade, but we're all very different, right? We all have different skin colors. We all have different types of hair. Mr. Hunter has different types of hair. I have a beard, but I don't have any hair up top. But there's somebody's hair is really short, somebody's hair is long. Somebody's hair is a different color than yours. Whatever the case may be, even the shoes that we wear, they're different. But we look at the differences, but then we look at how are we similar? Well, we're all in first grade, right? We all love God. We all are saved. We all love to have a good time. We all love pizza, right? We all love those things. So those are ways we're similar. So in today's story, we're going to practice compare and contrast. Like I said, we're going to tell how two peoples are the same, two people or two things are the same, or how they're different. All right. Now, I want you to look at the picture here. What do you see in the picture? The two characters that we have for our story are called Leroy and Will. Everybody say Leroy and Will. All right. The directions in our story say, ask, how are the boys the same and how are they different? Well, how is that going to happen? We have to read the story to understand. All right. So first off, I'm going to read the first 2 sentences and I want you to follow along. Okay. It says Leroy and will go to the same school. They are both in first grade. Do those sentences tell you something about Leroy and Will? Do they tell you how they are alike? Or are they different? What does it say? I'll read it again. Leroy and will go to the same school. They are both in the first grade. Are those things that are similar, or are they different? Raise your hand if you think it's similar. You are correct if you raise your hand and it is similar. Those first 2 sentences tell you how they are the same, Leroy and Will. They will go to the same school. And guess what? Just like you, they're in first grade. So all of you guys have something in common. Now, I want you to understand there are signal words, okay? There are signal words that help you to know. Sorry, my computer paused right there for some reason. The signal words that help you know if things are the same. All right? Though I just said one. One signal word that you want to look for, it's going to say same, and then another word is going to say both, okay? Leroy and Will go to the same school. That means they're similar. They're similar. Same lets you know they're doing something alike. They are both in first grade. That's another signal word. So what are our signal words? Same and both. Signal words let you know that something is similar. So same and both. So same and both are 2 signal words for that. All right. So we're going to read the rest of the story. I'm going to start over at the top. We're going to read and see if the sentences stay the same or if there's something different that stands out. Leroy and Will go to the same school. They are both in first grade. Leroy rides a bus to school. He lives far away. Will has never been on a bus. His mom drives him to school. Will lives in a tall building in the city. The cars below look small from his window. Leroy lives in a house. He can see a sky full of stars from his porch. All right. Now, I'm asking you guys here, what is different? What is different? What did we read that was different as we started? The first 2 sentences showed us things that were similar. Our signal words, same and both. But what was different? We have Leroy and we have Will. All right. So there's another way we do this. We have to compare They're different ways, all right? And we're going to compare in just a second. So you guys ready to compare? So what you can do is if you don't know already, you can have Leroy write it down on one piece of paper. And on the other side of the piece of paper, you can write Will. And what you can do is write what is the same about Leroy. So Leroy, he rides a bus. So you can put Leroy rides a bus. Does Will ride a bus? Mm-mm. So we don't put Leroy, Will rides a bus. So that's one way that they're different. Another thing, Will's mom drives him to school. So Will's mom drives him to school. So Leroy takes a bus. Will's mom drives him to school. Those are ways that they are different. What's another way? Oh, where do they live? So Will lives in a tall building in the city. So he sometimes, maybe he lives in a place like downtown LA, right? Where there's a lot of skyscrapers. Mr. Hunter lives near downtown. So I see a lot of tall buildings outside of my house, outside of my window all the time. Some of you live in a neighborhood where there's not a lot of buildings. It's just your house or your apartment. And that's a different way that we live. So just like us, Will and Leroy live in different places. He can see a sky full of stars from his porch. If he has a porch and he can see stars, chances are there's not a lot of lights or buildings where he's at because it has to be really dark outside for you to be able to see the stars. Okay? These are all facts, ways that we can tell if something is similar or if it's different. And what we call that is we call that compare and contrast. And guess what? You guys just did your first day of comparing and contrasting the differences between two people. So what's next? Well, on the bottom, it says fill in the circle next to the correct answer. And we've done that before. So I'm just going to read the questions to you so you understand what you're doing, and then we'll go from there. All right. Number one, it says, what is the same about Leroy and Will? A, they ride the same school bus. B, they live next door to each other. Or C, they are in the same school. If you don't know, go back and read the story again and see if you can find the clue. All right. Number two, how is Leroy different from Will? So it's not asking about both of them now. Now it's just asking about one person, and that person is Leroy. So we need to look at what Leroy does in the story and how that's different from Will. Let's look at our options. It says A, Leroy is in first grade, but Will is not. Is that true? Read the second sentence in the story, and I think you'll find your answer to that. B, Leroy lives in the city, but Will does not. Let's see if that's true. You got to read the story, though, to find out exactly. And then C, Leroy rides a bus to school, but Will does not. So all of those different choices, our answers are found in what we just read. So if you know the answer, go ahead and bubble it in. If not, go back and read the story, okay? It's right there for you. Number three, how are Will and Leroy different? And that is something that, again, is in this story. We're seeing how they're different, how they're the same. Do you guys understand? Do you get it? You get it? All right. The last one, it says beginning sounds. Read each word and circle the sound of the letter C. All right. I hope you guys understood everything. If you have any questions, just rewind the video again. It's a really cool story, and this is a really cool concept. We're going to keep building. We're going to keep learning this, and I'll see you tomorrow with another story.